Painting neatly is for suckers. Dirt, dust, rust, and grime, that's the stuff that takes a model to the next level. Warhammer is set in a war, so why is your army all squeaky clean? My name's Nick, this is Miniature Death, and I'm going to give you 4 top tips for adding easy battle damage. Let's get ready to... This is a big yellow truck. Specifically, it's a Goliath truck for the best faction in 40k, Genestealer Cults. I've blocked in all the colours and it's looking nice and neat. But neat is boring. No, we're not just going to slap Agrax Earthshade all over it, and we're not going to use those fancy panel liners. Instead, we're going to use weathering tip number 1, let oil washes do the hard work. Now, before we crack out our oils, we need to hit the whole model with a layer of gloss varnish. You could do this with a brush, but honestly, you'd make your life so much easier by just buying one of these cheapo airbrush and compressor combos for less than the price of a combat patrol. Now, fair warning, your model will look absolutely disgusting when it's varnished. Really shiny and unnatural. But don't worry, we'll fix that later on. Also, here's a little mini tip, tip 1.5. Make sure your model is clean before you varnish it. I actually painted this truck a few months ago and then let it sit on the shelf and get covered in dust, and now all that dust is stuck underneath the varnish. Don't worry, that's just going to get hidden by all of our battle damage later on. Okay, let's mix up an oil wash using this Winsor & Newton Burnt Umber. Really, any deep brown from your local craft shop should do. Add in a small amount of white spirits, or mineral spirits for you Yanks, and mix it up until it's the same sort of consistency as a contrast paint. Now let's not just splosh this all over the model. Instead, we want to do this. See how the oil naturally gets pulled into the recesses? That's called capillary action. The smooth surface of the gloss means liquid struggles to settle on it. Now this stage is honestly like magic, I love it. You can just dab the tip of your brush with a healthy amount of oil on it and let physics do the hard work for you. If you watch how it behaves here on the internal bed of the truck, just a single dab can immediately shade an entire panel. And you can do the same thing on stuff like rivets, just add in a little blob. Honestly, I'm just including loads of footage here because it was really fun to do and it looks cool. Just keep working your way around your model, making sure to accentuate and bed in every little detail, adding as much grunge and gunk as you like. And guess what? You're gonna make mistakes. And guess what? That doesn't matter. Oils aren't like the usual acrylic paints you use for painting Warhammer. They can take hours or days or even weeks to fully dry, which means they're workable for much, much longer. This is how our truck looks after a few hours of drying. By this point, all the white spirits have evaporated, but the oil can still be moved around. Using a little cotton bud or even the tip of your finger, you can just start wiping away anywhere that you've spilled. And again, this process is so satisfying to do. It's the total opposite of regular painting for me. There's no stress, no need to be neat, just switch your brain off and smush colours around. When you're finally happy, you will need to seal in all your oil paints with a healthy coat of matte varnish, which also gets rid of that horrible, glossy, gloopy finish. Big yellow truck, now with extra gorgeous grime. Time for tip number 2. Add battle damage that makes sense. Now, at this stage, a lot of people would just crack out a sponge and start adding stuff on really randomly. But we're not going to do that yet. Instead, I like to go in with my brush first, using the same colour that I base coated the model in. Now, this red stripe that was painted on by my cultists is right at the front of the truck, where it would naturally take the most damage. So let's add lots of little scratches and dings, as if random rocks or people's skulls have dinted the paint job. Look at these photos from a real-life car. Light scratches show up nice and lightly, and deeper scratches are darker, where they hit the primer and even the metal. You can also start sort of edge highlighting here, but again, don't bother being neat. Little tippy-tappy stabs and stipples need a lot less brush control, and they're more fun to do. Now, we can whip out the sponge. Just tear a little bit off, dab it in your paint, and remove almost all the excess on a towel. When you gently press it against the surface, it'll leave these little speckles. Again, remember to focus the damage towards the front of your truck, or whatever makes sense for your model. Next, we can go even lighter and add a little bit of white to our highlight colour. Let's just keep chipping and chopping around the edges, adding very subtle scratches here and there. Not every single surface, just the really prominent parts that naturally catch the eye, or would naturally catch the most bullets. And lastly, for really deep damage, let's use Rhinox hide. Both sponged on to create really random road rash, and again using our brush. If you add a little inside the lighter lines, it creates this lovely effect of depth, like something really big has scraped along and gouged through to the hull. If you do add any big scratches across smooth surfaces, keep it minimal. Less is always more. Okay, time for my favourite hobby product, and tip number 3. Embrace the power of pigments. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you've probably seen me using these. They're really versatile, and they're a big part of tying all my GSC together. The main areas we're going to focus on are the inner wheels. Why bother edge highlighting or dry brushing when they'd naturally be caked up in dirt? Just smushing it dry into the recesses and then wiping away any excess immediately looks fantastic. By adding a bit of water to your pigments, you can make another kind of wash. One that dries to leave a dusty finish. I'm just directing it into all the texture on the tyre treads, and once it's dry, again, just gently agitating it and wiping away any bits that have stained the surface with a clean brush. You can also add the same dusty rust to metal areas, like the truck bed. Here I'm just smushing it into random corners where debris would naturally accumulate. It's all super simple and makes the truck look like it's been trundling through the desert. Alright, this last tip is very small, but very effective. So if you're enjoying the video so far, please consider subscribing, it really helps me out. And if you're really enjoying the video, go down to the comments and type literally anything. Just a bunch of gibberish, doesn't matter. Let's trick this stupid algorithm before AI slop ruins all of our lives. Okay, shilling over. Tip number 4 is feel the burn. Specifically, muzzle burn, or in our case, exhaust burn. Start by adding a light purple wash around the midsection of our exhaust pipe, leaving the majority of the colour up top. I did a few thin coats, just lightly glazing it on until it looks nice and hot and angry. Then we want to do the exact same thing using a dark blue, right at the top of the exhaust. Again, just a few light coats gets you this lovely heat damage effect, and even though it's one tiny bit in the model, it has a huge impact. On a tank with a big cannon, this would look sick. I'm also going to fill in all the various headlights and lamps and windscreens on the model with pure white. And then we're just going to dollop some watered down contrast paints to finish things off. This isn't technically weathering, I just like to leave this until last, so any light sources look super bright and crisp next to all that grunge. And last but not least, let's pop this little pre-painted pilot into his little cubby hole. What a legend. So, there's a really important lesson that you could take away from this video. Being neat doesn't matter. Painting properly is for suckers. The government is lying to you. Battle damage and weathering can hide all kinds of sins and make your model look sick in the process. My name's Nick, this is Miniature Death. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's take one final look at that big yellow truck.